love working with Michele.
I feel buoyant and alive, Michele. It's amazing. I don't feel as though I've got to gather in all that negative crap. It's like a different planet. It opens up possibilities.
I was suffering from grief and I could not make anything right with my business. But since the first session with Michele, I had a clarity that I could never explain. All of a sudden, my brain was so clear that I could just do the right thing without even thinking. And whatever was ailing in my body just disappeared. It was really amazing. It was fantastic.
So almost 10 years, I was not able to solve in a minute. I was able to breathe with peace.
I don't sleep very well. For the first time in 45 years, I slept for 10 and a half hours. I woke up like a new man. I don't know if she had anything to do with it, but no one else was sprinkling me. This woman says she's got a gift, and I think she may.
It has changed my mindset.
Michele has activated my methodology in dealing with various situations. I have tools to deal with these things, and the sparkle adds even more.
Every time after our session, something good always happens.
It's phenomenal. With your help, I won't be able to step out of that cloud. Not a nice feeling.
I have had pain disappear.
There is meaning to getting up every day. I guess you could say she's recharged the batteries.
So that feels wonderful. Thank you.
Clearly, I want to say thank you.
Get sparkled by Michele. She will turn your world into a magical world.
Thank you, Michele.
Thank you, Michele. It's really amazing. It's not an easy thing that a person who sustained a heavy dance of grief can just be how do you call it? Like there's a wand, a magic wand that would you just do it and then it would go away. No.
It will help you find answers.
Welcome to the Sparkle Experience Show. This is the 5th episode, and this is something that I wanted to do, and I had it written in my journal to start it last May. I was just checking, and so it took me a year and a bit to get it started, but happily we are started, and it's better to get moving than being perfect. Arden, I am so happy. My special guest is Arden Kamille Varnel, and I met Arden quite not so long, maybe a year ago, I think. And she has a heart of gold. She has this passion for her sister's art, who sadly passed, but just beautiful, beautiful art. And that's how I got to know Arden, because it was such a joy to hear about the art, and that's why I have her as an art enthusiast on the description, because honestly, she's come on here with not very much notice, and what you'll find is that this is really off the cuff. I mean, we have no prep time, so this is honest to goodness, authentic Michele, the Sparkle Diva, and Arden Varnel. And so we're gonna be talking today about some of the things I think that are dear to Arden, as well as one of the things I want to do is give people hope in the audience. Everything might seem to be going topsy-turvy, but there is a power within each of us. And that power we can harness. And I think Arden is going to, well, I know Arden is going to share some of that today, which is, how do you get that sparkle? I call it spark, the divine spark. But how do you get that spark ignited within you? And the key to that is you need to get your positivity up. I call it the positivity quotient in my book, Sparkle and Shine. Get your brilliance out at home and work. And Arden is here today to talk a little bit briefly about, because we don't have that much time. We have 45 minutes to an hour if we stretch it. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So she's going to be talking about positive intelligence, I believe is how you call it, PQ. So I'm excited to learn more about that today. And so tell us a little bit about yourself, Arden, if you could, and just about, what drew you to, I'm sure you have a story around the positive intelligence journey. that perhaps you can share
Indeed.
with us.
Yeah. But first, I'd really like to do a little time check. I understand you have another guest coming on, and I'd just like to tune into
No,
what
that was just
our
really
schedule
that was
is.
just really to check in and say hi. And we tend to do a little bit around when we start Sparkle session in the middle of the show. So don't worry about that. You know.
Okay. Okay, good. So, yeah, my name is Arden Kamille Varnel, and my background is in clinical humanistic psychology. I have a master's and a bachelor's in it. And I used to be a college teacher and a psychotherapist a long time ago. And it's taken me, in my life, I've gone through many explorations of creative expressions. I was a dancer, and I grew up with my very creative sister Nancy, whose artwork is all around my home, but you won't see much of it except a little bit right there. And the growth, the deep desire in me to heal from some of the childhood traumas has led me into psychology, deep spiritual explorations, artistic explorations. I'm a writer. I've written thousands and thousands of pages, literally typed and handwritten over the years. And so I've got a core interest in what makes people creative, what drives the creative, a spark for sure to spark, what thwarts it, what gets in the way, what hangs up people, and what keeps people from fulfilling their destiny and really big, like fulfilling it in a big way. And also what are the pieces of the puzzle that helps people actually succeed. So I'm on a lifelong quest to do this. Now I'm a trained positive intelligence coach, and my niche market, which is not very small indeed, is the field of creatives. Creatives in any way, shape, or form, including from engineering and mathematics over watercolors and sculpture and music and so forth. So, and also age ranges. So the truth is, creativity is in everyone, and we grew up with it. Each of us absolutely positively started out creative, and part of the creativity, 4 classic steps of creativity, which I could explain if you'd like me to, but part of the classic 4 steps is curiosity, this great desire to find out things, to investigate, to look and find out and see how things work. Sometimes that's how things work with numbers, how things work with concepts like philosophical concepts, how things work with paint, and how things work with the mind. I've been very, deeply interested in the mind for many years. So that's part of my creative passion. And also, how to put things into a form that other people can find it, like on a canvas or in a brief, a scientific brief, or into something like wood sculpture and so forth. So that's part of what, that's really what drives me. Creativity, expressing it. And my other big thing that I want for me personally, Michelle, and I know you understand this coming from your spiritual being that you are, I want to access true originality. Now I say that with a big old smile because it's like the cat's out of the bag. But the truth is, in my experience of my studies, there is no way to ever access true originality because it comes from the divine source, the place that the originator of the galaxies and the infinite life that goes out into space and deep into our cellular atomic structures, that source, whatever that is, Some people call it God, but I call it sometimes divine mind, or divine spark.
Consciousness.
Yeah, infinite consciousness,
Mhm.
love. There are lots of names for it, but in any case, I aspire to know that. I aspire to express it and channel it, and so it brings me to the question of how do I do that? What do I have to get out of the way? And a lot of that has to do with what I coach people on. What do you have to remove from your sense of identity, your fears, your sense of limitations? What do you have to remove in order to get that essential diamond self
Right.
that's in all of
Well,
to
that's
shine?
interesting. That's interesting. You should bring that up because I don't know if you know this, but I'm an intuitive artist also. So I have
No,
an
I
art
didn't know.
show. I have an art show coincidentally coming up in next month, and the opening reception is November 5th at 1 to 4 p.m. at VASA in St.
Where?
Albert in Canada. So I might be
Ah.
actually streaming it on Zoom because the pianist who is going to be playing, she's a beautiful lady, dear friend of mine for many years. She was my music teacher for my children when they were young. She plays phenomenally, beautifully, all sorts of classical, and she improvs as well, and she'll be playing at it. So that's coming up. But what I came across
I just want to pop you there for a second,
Sure.
1 second. I would love that if you would live stream your art show with your friend playing music.
Yeah.
That would be
Okay,
truly
so I will do that, and I
divine.
will drop it in the link. I'll put it on the website for the Sparkle Experience show as well. And the
Yeah.
thing is, I have to be careful because apparently you have to get disclosure for videotaping. But she already gave me permission to videotape her. So if it's just I can do the walk around without people or with their people's backs and stuff. But for sure I can show her playing, and it will be phenomenal, right? I hope it will come out good. But the thing with it, when I started out, I didn't start art until I guess it was after it was triggered in a way by my healing work, but also by my mother's passing, because after that her passing I was doing these what at the time I was calling sigils, sigils, because that's a healing modality too, right, where you do the session on paper. And a friend of mine, he does Hawaiian healing as well as matrix energetics. I met him when I was working on someone, and he said whoever's getting that was very lucky because he could feel it from 15 feet away what I was doing. And so I started doing these gel pen things, and it evolved into the sparkle, the acrylic paintings, then into mixed media with crystals. And but one thing, when I went to my first art exhibition there, I had people going, well, I don't like my art. I say, why? Is it because you didn't do the right stroke, the one that was supposed to be picture perfect? And they went, yeah, something's always wrong. And I said, well, but the question is, how does it feel? Did it come out the way you wanted it to feel? Do you get the feeling you want from the art that you wanted to capture in that art? And they went, interesting, that question. And then she thought about it, and she said, that comment is going to change how I look at my art from now on. And that same kind of idea has come up even just recently at another art show, where someone was going, I don't think my art is any good. Like, I can see all. I said, wait a second, how does it feel? Because I can tell you right now, this painting is absolutely beautiful, because the colors, everything. She says, but I said, don't worry about what you learned. What does it come from the heart? How did you capture it in your art?
Yeah, I like that. How does it make you feel, and how did you feel when you were making it?
Right.
And also, what's the feeling left over after you've made it and looked at it a while? Because sometimes when I look at paintings, I have a painting over here. I'm going to hop up and get it and show it to you in a minute. It's really pretty funny, but it's an example of a process, and that's what the key is that when you're in the process of making something, what I teach as what I coach, what I do is I help people to be in the present moment, in the process, and set aside the judgment while making it.
That's beautiful.
It's the only
because-
way to make art.
Beautiful. But the thing about it too is even in the
Yeah, you
observation.
can't judge things while you're. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You can't judge things while you're.
Well, I'm going to explain the 4 steps of the creative process. This is classic. It's been known for like 30, 40 years. I didn't invent it by any means. But basically, the first step is gather information. So, gather. Either like, if you're a poet, gather words, gather ideas, gather images, gather. And it's called, it's part of the curiosity, where you're curious about things and you bring things together. And it's with no judgment and rather random. Maybe you're following a trail of intuition, but you're gathering. And with paints, it could be you gather your paints and your supplies. And then you go to the next step, which is brainstorming. This is stage 2 of the creative process. Brainstorming, where you look at all the ideas. You imagine a giant table and you have all these ideas spread out on the table and you start scrambling them around like a puzzle. You go, oh yeah, that part, and not trying to put all the pieces together necessarily, but just basically finding relationships between the ideas or between the pieces. For example, if you're painting, you might dabble this color on a palette and then add some other color on a palette and try it out on a piece of paper. That would be like brainstorming with paint, perhaps. And then the editing, stage 3, is where you bring in what I don't want to call it the critic, because it's like we get into the art critic world thing where the art critic is criticizing. It's not about that. And it's not about the judge sitting back and going, oh, that's a piece of crap. Why would you ever want to see that on a wall? It's not the judge. That's really a big part of the PQ project. I can tell you more about the judge from the point of view of positive intelligence. It's actually the stage 3 is editing.
What about
it's where
noticing?
You
noticing?
Edit out the bad ideas. Pardon?
What about noticing? So you're sit with it and you notice. So it's not judging, it's noticing.
Noticing is a very good word.
Noticing, you see what you like and what you don't like. So it's, in a sense, it's editing, but it's noticing with just a very very, very gentle noticing. So what do I like?
That's right.
Sitting back, perusing. That's why painting sometimes takes weeks, because you're noticing. You're looking and saying, hey, what
that's right.
works, what doesn't.
That's right. And it's the editing stage is noticing what works together and what doesn't. And then we have a term in positive intelligence called blameless discernment, which is, blameless means there's no criticism, there's no judging, there's no wrongness about it. But it is discerning. You're sorting it out. And I remember this story. A great example is Linus Pauling. Is a great scientist and inventor and experimenter. And one of his students, this was from an interview that I read ages ago, and I may not have it exactly right, but this is pretty much how I remember it, is that a student said, Dr. Pauling, how do you come up with such great ideas? Where did you come up with? And it had to do with the double helix and the DNA model. And so he said to him, well, I have a lot of bad ideas and I throw out the bad ones. I have a lot of ideas. I have a lot. That's like the second stage, where you're gathering is the first stage. Then you're moving all the pieces around. Right. That's the second. And he said, I have a lot of bad ideas. I have a lot of ideas. I have a lot of bad ideas, and I throw the bad ones out. And that's the editing stage. So you just like let go of what doesn't work.
Right.
So then the fourth and final stage is to implement. So let's say you are writing an essay, and I'm actually learning how to become an essayist currently. I'm doing a project on learning how to write essays. So I read the instructions and I went, oh my God, this is like way over my head. I don't think I can do it, but I'm going to try, you know? And it's like you get all these lines, you get all these ideas, and you take it to the next step and you get all these sentences, and then you take it to, and you build paragraphs, and then you go through it all and you whittle out all the bad stuff, then you go through it again and you rewrite and you go through it. It's like that. And finally you get to a stage where you just can't say it any better and you can't do it any better, and it really is as good as it's going to get because you've fine-tuned it over and over and over again. That's the editing stage. And then you implement is when you actually finish the you know, the sculpture is
Put your
done,
signature
and you
on or
pull
whatever.
and you pull the cloth off
Yeah.
the great marble sculpture, and you sign the painting and you publish the article or the essay.
Right.
Stage 4. So there's a lot to the creative process, and a lot of people think that that creativity is stage 2, brainstorming. A lot of people think that that's it, brainstorming. It's not it. It's just one of the 4 pieces
Well,
of the
for
puzzle.
me, the creativity starts with the mood. So there has to be a space that's open. For me, that's a wee hours.
What's the mood? Tell me about your mood. I'm interested.
Well, it's a very quiet, where there's nothing there. You just put everything aside. So it's a space. It's a contemplative space. Because see, the way I paint, it's all intuitive. So I go with the feeling. And I don't have an art background. So the things that I do, I actually have been avoiding taking classes. Why? Because I feel that's going to impact the way I do things. And I'm going to try and be perfect that way. You know what I'm saying? So I go at it totally intuitive, and beautiful things happen. And I did a piece just a couple of nights ago, and it was crazy because I used this spatula. Is it what you call it?
A sponge?
No,
a spatula.
Yeah. And I was using it very fast. And when I finished, there were all of these images of faces and animals and different kinds. And it was totally amazing. And the thing is, it's in black on a little purple. I'm thinking, well, it's finished. Because it was totally, whereas in the zone, and that's what came out. And I was going, hey, how is that happening? And I'm doing it. And I'm going, oh, cool. Oh, cool. Oh, what's forming there? And that's the thing. When we start to create, it is sometimes putting too much of an analytical thinking. We have to drop to the heart. That's how I have to do it. Sometimes I do it very late at night, sometimes 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And sometimes I catch myself, oh, I just went to sleep for a minute. Because I actually woke up and I was standing with a paintbrush in my hand and I wasn't there. So it's that space. I'm serious. I'm dead serious. I'm going, oh, I'm still standing. Oh, okay. And it's that space where I know I zoned out and I came back. And then I continue painting, and that's it. So this space for me, it's that space where it's not even thinking and collecting and gathering, because that almost becomes, in a sense, too, what's the word? Too much in the mind. For me, the creative, all the geniuses, they say the creative came to them in that space of just it. They dreamt it. It came to them in a dream. Like Tesla said that, right? Einstein said it.
Singer of the Singer sewing machine. He invented the sewing machine from a dream.
Yeah. So the thing
going
is,
up and down.
Yeah. So the thing is, it's in the space of nothing, where you would call that miracles. My book got written because I went 48 hours without sleeping, and I just kept on these things. I just kept on with these pieces of paper with my black paint, ink, and my white paint, acrylic paint. And I sat for 48 hours without doing much eating or moving on the floor, just doing these 27 diagrams in my book. That's how they came about. And that's how I wrote the book. Because from those drawings, those diagrams, I wrote the book and I reordered it according to those diagrams. And now those diagrams are in the book, and the diagrams themselves are very, very powerful because there's a message in the diagrams that's deeper than what's written. All right, because the diagrams have words, which came to me as I was down. As I look at that, I say it's a download, right? Because I wasn't thinking.
So do you have your book in front of you? Can you open a page and show us a diagram or
I
two?
certainly can. So sparkle and shine, and if I look, some of them are look like cartoons, right? You see that?
Okay.
So this one says, doing what lights me up. What meaningful work will put a smile on my face? What do I want and why? What interests me deeply? What work calls me? Happy comes from within. I choose how I feel. I have choices in my life I can make. And this just came to me, right? There's some other ones. There's one that I really really like, and there's somebody who was flipping through my book, and then I said, oh, I had a dragon. Oh yeah, I remember that. I said, but you were flipping so fast. The Dragon Slayer. Right?
Which one is it?
The Dragon Slayer, this side.
Okay.
There's a dragon that appears if you look carefully.
Okay, yeah, it's a little small for the screen.
It's a little small, but the thing is, there is a little man, and he has a sword, and there's a dragon in the clouds, and it's going, resolve, courage, dragon slayer of positivity, Sparkle Land. Right, and there you can make out a dragon here if you had the book. He has a shield, right? The little guy has a shield, and it has beliefs, angst, the inner divine spark, fears, failures, doubts. And that this is to give an idea, right? So you have to slay your dragons in order to move ahead, to keep moving forward.
That's right.
Right? So
you have, yeah, it's true.
Right?
Now, I want to show you something. I'll be right back. I have to go off video for a second.
Okay, sure. So the whole point with art for me is that intention of helping people, and always with the intention of how can this painting, what it can be in here as an intention to help people in their days, to go through their journey, to have more connection, to do better, to feel better, to release things that are not serving them. And so my paintings are healing paintings, and I didn't realize we're going to be talking about art today, but it's a nice, really pleasant and refreshing surprise, because art, creativity is the soul of us, right? If we can open our creativity, it opens us up to beauty, and if you can appreciate beauty and be grateful for that, it opens up to you to new possibilities.
Yeah, so I want to share with you something that you said you had made something the other couple of days ago that you were surprised while you were making it. Yes. You're going, oh, right?
Right.
Well, so I had a project. This is partly from, let's see, this painting is, oops, here we go. It's from 2022. So I'm going to show you close up. So back, it's like, it's kind of, okay, my screen and I don't
okay.
match.
I can see it. You can leave it right there.
Here we go.
Oh, whimsical. Oh, very cute. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I did a project of using calendars for references, and I just threw this paint down, just like what you were saying. I just threw it. It was like, and then I didn't like the painting at all. And this is for a few years. I didn't like it. Throw it away. I'd put it on and I would I almost threw it out 5, 6, 10 times. But here's what happened. I was sitting here at this very spot, and it was over there. And I kept looking at it, and it kept talking to me. I mean, literally, it kept, like, these faces started showing up. And I said, well,
I can see weird. Them. I can see them. There's a little boy.
So then I started moving into, like, goofing around. I
Right.
decided to goof around. There's a face there, a lady with the
So
hat.
you
I don't know
didn't
if that's
see
too
them
close.
before. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I didn't see them at
Okay,
all.
so
And then
so
over
so
here,
this is a thing that I'd like to postulate, okay, is that as we release things that are keeping us in the dark, okay? So there's a perception part of us. And when we are so rigid that all we see is what we think we see, that we want to see in there. And then all of a sudden we relax that and we start to connect with more of the heart, of the impression, the feeling. We open the heart a little. Then I think is when you start to see more of the faces.
yes,
within.
that's true.
You lose
The heart,
you lose that rigidity of the what you should be seeing and move to what is, just what is. And then your brain, it shows also your brain is functioning in a different way because the brain are now making connections in another way instead of doing what it totally expects to see, a flower and a one head and a one face, you know, the kind of the lion guy and the other cat kind of person at the back. Then you start to see all these other things appear out of the form work of that hair or the fur or the whatever, the flower, and you see things. Because the same thing happened to me. I have a huge painting, 4 by 4 feet by 2 feet, and I've been walking by it for years, a few years, and probably about 2 or 3 months ago, I was going downstairs and oh my gosh, there's faces in that painting. And then I brought it up, and you know, Catherine Sarais, right? She's been on my show here. And she went, I hate to say this, Michelle, but I see a uterus. And then,
what?
a
saw what?
uterus, a woman's uterus.
Okay, why not?
Right? And then somebody says, oh yeah, I see a lady with a hat. And I'm going, I don't see that. So it's like the witch, you know, that little perception thing, and you have the witch, and can you see the witch or the rabbit or the, and it's that opening up of that ability to see beyond what it is that you normally would see. If I like to make that analogy, right? Because the whole point
Absolutely.
of going beyond and
So
being
I'd like to-
creative.
I'd like to tie this into some of the structure of the positive intelligence
Sure.
operating system. So if PQ stands for positive intelligence IQ or quotient, so we call it PQ for short, and it has 3 pillars of its operating system. One of them is recognizing your saboteurs, what we call saboteurs, what it gets in the way of doing what we want.
Your beliefs, your limiting beliefs, your fears, your doubts,
negative self-talk,
your self-worth, your deserving or not.
And it comes out of fear
Mhm.
entirely. It's all based in survival brain: fight, flight, freeze, and faint. That's the new one.
Right.
You know, it's like why fight, why freeze, why
Why run?
fight back?
Yeah.
Why
Why-
just faint?
Yeah. Pass out.
Anyway, I like that one. It was something I learned a few years ago. But in any case, it's all fear-based.
Yeah.
And all the saboteurs, and the top saboteur is the judge, and the judge is universal. This is based in like about 500,000 people participating in this program, and finding out that the judge is a human condition. Like we all have a heart, we all have feet, we all have a judge. It's like basic human condition. Then we have variations on the judge, which turn out to be universal also, 9 different kinds of basic fear groups that show up with different titles. You know, the avoider is a good one. And pretty much everybody has an avoider, controller, pleaser, victim, and so forth. There are 10 total. Okay, so the operating system teaches us that we want to learn how to intercept those saboteurs, tamp them down, like bring down their power, so they have to run. You know, it's like learning how to slay those dragons, but they'll never go away. The judge never, ever goes away. But we can learn to have the 5. And so where we go is learning how to have the sage
wisdom, which is called sage, but it's actually a part of the brain. Basically, your right, this is my right side here,
Right.
even though
Yes.
I may be mirroring, I'm
Yes.
not sure what.
No,
on your side.
your right is the right way on the left.
Okay, well, this is the right side of my head here,
Right,
folks.
it is.
And it is called the medial right prefrontal cortex. And then the left side, which is this side, is where your basic data brain is, your thinking, analytical, mathematical, language oriented part of the brain. And then the basic fear brain is back here in the old brain, cerebellum, the amygdala in the old brain.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I think of it as three brains. So what we try to do is get the right medial prefrontal cortex up and running and get it stronger. And that is really where we access what we call positive states. They're not necessarily emotions like, gratitude isn't exactly an emotion, but it is an emotional state. That's an elevated state. Awe is an elevated state. Yeah, they're feeling states.
It's a vibrational state, an energy state.
And it's also vibrational love, peace, joy, beauty.
And those are states you want, the ones that are high vibration.
They're high vibrations. They're coming out of this part of the brain.
Yeah.
So the goal is to lower the data brain, like it's constant chatter. Sometimes people are like, that's all they hear. It's not even a little chatter. It's like bombardment.
Right. It's a you must, you should have, you could have, you must, why didn't you?
That's the critic, the judge. Yeah, and that's the judge saying all these things, and that's all coming out of the fear brain. Like if I don't do better, I'm going to die or something. Yeah. So what we do is we work on finding the way, and you'll like this because you're an energy person, but we find the way to the sage through the body, through embodiment. We call it self-command. So there's three pillars. There's intercept, the saboteur, there's the sage, and then there's the third pillar is self-command through the body. And what it really is an exquisite attunement to a sensation for 10 seconds. It's called a PQ rep or repetition. It's a 10-second, extremely narrowed in, focused awareness of a sensation. So, right now, for example, I swallow, that's a sensation. I'm looking at the screen, that's a sensation. I'm in my visual sensory mode. I'm hearing my voice, that's a sensation. But what's really calling my intense, exquisite attention right now, a couple of toes. I'm just wiggling my toes for 10 seconds. And even though I'm multi-sensorily aware, the focus of 10 seconds changes the neural pathways in the brain to the right medial prefrontal cortex. It develops this part of the brain.
So it's a new learning almost, in a sense.
Yeah, I've been practicing this since February of last year. I'm a trained PQ coach now, and I have a few clients.
Oh, congratulations.
And, it's like a big deal, and I'm finding out I'm good at it.
Right, because I expect to have, for the viewers here who are tapping in on the replay, I expect to have an offer posted under your name in the guest page of the website soon.
That'd be lovely.
So they can, go to you for consultation.
It's true, you can. And what I love about, because this has radically changed my life for the better, this PQOS drastically improved my life. And I learned it from one of our mutual friends, from one of our mutual mentoring programs we were in. One of our mutual student mentorship friends introduced me to positive intelligence February of last year. And I've just gone deep into it, way deep. And so I'm very grateful for networking. I would never have known this without that networking.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah, very, very nice. So many blessings on her.
But what I want to mention is that the application of positive intelligence is really wide. People are applying it in business, in companies, in schools with little kids, middle school kids, high school kids, college students, relationships, marital relationships, divorce, people who are in grieving over losses, health issues, financial realms. It's like, because what the fundamental thing is that really applies to everybody is that judge part of our mind that criticizes us and says you're not doing it right, not good enough, not smart enough, not young enough, not educated enough, not this, not that. Nobody's going to love you because blah blah blah. You're an imposter. That whole voice, it goes across everybody's lives, like health, finances, relationships, sexuality, creativity. You know, you name it. It's always in there, nitpicking, criticizing. So when we in the PQOS learn how to calm that judge down, not through analysis, because it doesn't work, it's calmed down through breathing. It's calm those voices, those criticizing voices and fears, calm down through sensory embodiment. And that is what I love about PQ, because I have a huge background in
Yeah, no, that's
sensory.
great. You know, everybody finds something that resonates with them. You know, so it's, and for me, there's a lot of tools out there that do this. And so for everybody out there, it's just like on the first episode I said, you know, there's a lot of healers out there, a lot of people who do healing. But again, one person who does healing may not resonate with the person you are. So you find something that someone who resonates with you. You know, so
That's right.
It's not about competing, it's about finding what's right and what touches your heart. And PQ touched it for you, you know, which is
That's
great.
right.
So it's for each of us to impact the world in the way that we are called to impact it. And PQ does work, all right? You know,
Oh yeah.
so
It,
so
it
that
works for a lot of people, but it's not the end all be all, and it's not. But what
right.
I love about it, that it's based in science,
Yes,
and it's
yes,
like global, and
right.
it goes across cultures and
Yes,
ages and religions and economic status, and
yes,
I mean, it's very universal,
yes.
and I find that it's making me feel happier,
Yeah, no,
and
that's
it's not
wonderful.
like yeah,
That's
it's
great.
not a fake happiness. It's
Yes,
not like
yeah, yeah,
Pollyannish. It's really actually a much deeper
yeah.
kind of that inner glowing, heartfelt, joyful, for real happiness.
That is real.